And we are live. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hope you all are doing good. I am Nathan Akrani, general contributor at Metis, and today we have Joy Ortega, solution engineer from Thirdweb. So we have getting people from different parts. Okay, we will be waiting couple of minutes as usual, 2 3 more minutes to start over it, and yeah, so they don't even miss out as well. So meanwhile, how are you doing, Joe?
I am doing a fantastic today, man. Katie. It is so happy. Like it's one of my highlights every week, right? To come talk to you guys on these workshops
Yeah.
gives a little bit of a
Yes.
break between my daily stuff. So I'm excited. We're gonna talk about some really cool things today. So I'm happy. But
I'm equally excited as well, and for this amazing topic account abstraction. So I'm really excited to start it right now, but let me wait for a couple of more minutes to have the more developers communities here so they don't even miss out.
of course, yeah.
All, all.
We're gonna go through it all. We're gonna go through it all. A through Z.
Yeah, yeah. It is. Of course, because it's really interesting and amazing topic to research and learn more about it in the blockchain world.
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be, a lot of use cases, especially for people building on Metis.
Yeah,
Um, so can't wait to dive into that.
yeah, definitely. It's a lot of use cases, and when you are onboarding Web 2 users on the blockchain world, it's really helpful uh, to make their pain less.
Exactly. This is we're gonna talk into that. The
Yeah,
UX onboarding, all that stuff. Exactly.
yeah, definitely. So I think we should start now. We have enough people, and it has been 2.5 minutes from we have started. Okay, so hello everyone, welcoming again for today's amazing workshop on account abstraction with the Thirdweb on Metis. I'm Nidhin Akrani, your general contributor at Metis, and we have here today our friend Joey Ortega from Thirdweb as a solution engineer. For those who have seen me before, uh, I welcome you again, and for those who have not, don't worry. I promise I will not make today more painful for you guys, but it's going to be really amazing. I mean, if you are already listening us here on mostly on a Friday, our workshops, you are our kind of people. So before we actually dive in, let me tell you that this is the workshop. Like we are organizing workshop series, and this is the part of our workshops, and this is the third web workshop series so far. We have hosted 2 sessions till now. So the first one was on the simplifying Web3 development with a third web on a Mattis, where we explored how Thirdweb can be really helpful for your app development on the like you can use ERC20 tokens, ERC720 tokens, like how you can it makes simplify your Web3 development. All right, and the second one was on the Telegram mini app with Thirdweb on a Metis, which was on the last Friday, showing like how you can deploy your tab into Telegram using Telegram bot and using Thirdweb SDKs. So if you have missed either of those, don't worry, we have this all recordings, and you can find this all recordings on our officially Twitter handles. These are available on the Metis L2 and Metis devs, as well as on YouTube. So feel free to catch up after this session if you have missed any one of this. And this is going to be the third session, amazing and interesting session on account abstraction um, with Thirdweb ornaments, and definitely I guarantee it's worth your time. So before actually handing over to the Joy, let me give you a quick overview of what account abstraction is. So which is the star of the today's session, of course. So let me ask you this. So how many of you feel like gas fees are your biggest frenemy in a blockchain world? So, like, really be honest, like, it's the thing that you cannot avoid but also love to hate, right? So, if you agree, drop a comment down and emoji in a chat. Let's bond over our collective pain, basically. So imagine like whenever, like if you're in a new to the blockchain world, or you're already in this field, you're sitting there thinking like, gas fee again. Like in the blockchain world, there is gas fees are always there. So when someone knocks the door and says like, I have got something for you that you don't need to pay gas fees anymore, and boom, like probably I'll be something like, shut up, just teach me how that actually works, right? So well, that exactly what account abstraction is here to do. I mean, account abstraction is like in a traditional blockchain, like there are two types of accounts. Let's say EOS, external owned accounts, like your wallet, your MetaMask wallet, and smart contracts. So EOS are where your private keys are control everything, including gas fees. And the smart contracts, on the other side, it works like it don't work without EOS triggering them, right? So account abstraction essentially says, what if we combine the best of both? Like if your wallet could also behave like a smart contract, that means you could bundle the multiple actions into one transaction. You can save time, gas fees, of course, delegate gas fees to someone like DApp or a sponsor, right? And you can also program your custom rules for your transactions. So, like only allowing transactions during specific conditions or times. So, this is the basic of account abstraction. So, with account abstraction, your account become smarter, more flexible, more user friendly. And it's not the only coolest part, like it also offers multi-sign wallets, seamless onboarding, non-crypto users like web3 users, non-crypto native users. So it's like, turning your regular wallet into all-in-one, the super powered blockchain toolkit, I'll say. So this is the power of account abstraction, and we are here with Joy Ortega, solution engineer from Thirdweb, to dive deep into this specific topic and how we can implement it on Metis using Thirdweb. So this session is going to be really interactive and definitely going to be fun as well. So don't hesitate to ask questions. If anything clicks in between, make sure you drop the comments down in the comment section, and please make sure that we keep our questions related to this workshop for now. Um, I think enough from my side. So handing over the Joe. Joe's stage is all yours now.
Cool, cool. Well, thank you very much. That was a great introduction. I'm going to go through a little bit on my end as well because I don't think, I think the more times we can explain something, especially a complicated topic, it's going to resonate a little bit easier for
Yes.
developers. So let me
Leah.
share my screen with everyone here because we are also going to be going through a bit of a code session. So this is going to
Yes.
be very helpful.
Let me share the link that we're gonna use, the GitHub repo, right?
Yep, yep. We'll be going through that GitHub repo. I'll be showing you what I've changed, what has been going. We'll get all through that. First, quick overview. Again, I'm Joe. I'm part of the Thirdweb team here. I'm a solutions engineer, and it's my job to help you guys develop with Thirdweb tooling on Metis. Right, Metis is such a great L2. It is fast. It is cheap. And if you have been watching the previous series before, you know exactly how easy it is to start building up your apps on Metis L2 with Thirdweb. So, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to go to thirdweb.com, check out what we have to offer. And for anyone new, for anyone who might be joining in a little bit later, real quick, 2 seconds. What is Thirdweb? We are a full stack open source Web3 development platform. We give you tooling for your front end, on chain, and back end development. This means your wallets, your contracts, and scaling your transaction throughput. If you have any other questions or want to dive deeper, refer to the previous demos or sessions that we've had with Metis. That way, you guys can get all the juicy details on exactly how all this stuff works. But today we're talking about account abstraction. I want to focus all about this. Nidhi did a great job explaining a little bit about account abstraction, some of the use cases. And so we're going to go through a little bit about that right now as well, just to kind of make sure it's solidified in you guys. Because if you guys don't understand what account abstraction is, the rest of this stuff might not make sense, right? So, what is account abstraction? This is it. Looks super complicated, right? This is as a user, I look at this and I'm like, what is even going on here? What is happening, right? So
Guys.
exactly right. Like, I mean, you have users, you have user ops, bundle transactions, entry point. What is this? Right? So very confusing stuff. But at the end of the day, you might hear some of these common terms when people talk about account abstraction. You might hear things like ERC 4337. You might hear, hey, it's Ethereum uses smart contracts, or it's another identity method. It allows for smart accounts, right? Like all of these things are things that you might hear about account abstraction, and it can be very overwhelming and a little bit confusing for people who are just coming in and just learning. So, what is it? At the end of the day, it's just a method of creating wallets that are programmable smart contracts. That's it. So if we break this down, right, we know what a wallet is. Edie mentioned things like EOA wallets, like MetaMask, Coinbase. These are exactly the same. They're a wallet. Cool. Where do
Yeah.
they exist? Instead of existing on an EOA, they exist on a smart contract, right? We're familiar with smart contracts. We're familiar with wallets. Put those two together, you have account abstraction. Easy, a lot easier to think about and manage versus the that big table flow that we saw earlier, right? So next time you guys are thinking, well, what's account abstraction? How do I work with it? What is it like? It's just wallets based on a smart contract. Plain and simple, good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how does it help, right? Why do we care? If
Just sorry for the interruption. Are you
Go
sharing your
ahead.
screen? Because we cannot see the screen.
My screen. Uh-oh. Thank you for that.
Yeah, here we go.
There we go. Thank you. How long was that going?
Maybe yeah, you share a screen, but then it disappears. All good now.
Okay, we're good. All right, I'm happy. Cool. So, account abstraction, wallets, contracts, we're good to go. How does it help? Why do we care about account abstraction? As Needy mentioned, ultimately, it's all about simplifying, right? Simplifying wallet use cases, simplifying interactions, transactions, and you can do things like have recovery options, right? Before, if you are using EOA wallets, you need your seed phrases, you need your pass keys, you need your private keys to get all this. All of this is very difficult for a new user. So with smart accounts and account abstraction, you can simplify this process, and it becomes a little bit more familiar, a little bit more friendly for that end user. You can build out your custom wallet UIs. You don't have to rely on MetaMask to build out those UIs. You don't have to rely on Coinbase to build out those UIs or any of these other wallet providers to do it for you. You can do gas sponsorship for people who, as a Web2 user, I don't know what gas is. I don't know how to fund a wallet, right? Why do I have to pay to transact already, even though it's super cheap on Metis? Would I have to do that? Well, guess what? Now you don't, because you, the developer, can sponsor that gas on behalf of that user. You can do things like create session keys. You can have your backend wallets, your admin wallets perform transactions for your users. You can even batch transactions together. Maybe you want to do a claim on both NFTs and a token, or maybe you want to send. You want to be able to claim a token and send another token right within the same transaction. This saves on your gas fees. This saves on the number of transactions you have to uh, put. And so this is another benefit of account abstraction. So, you know, we kind of simplified what AA was while it's on a contract. So, what's the simple benefit of account abstraction? It offers a seamless user experience, right? You can see here, very, very easy. I have wallets, I have transactions that go through, I have a login method that's very familiar to individuals, and I even have an optional checkout payment that is very seamless and available. All of this is available on Metis as well. So, if you guys are taking away only one thing about why account abstraction, guess what? It just makes your user experience a million times better. And if you want to stand out in your apps building on Metis, if you want to stand out, you want to have a high profile application, onboard as many users as possible, think about your development from a user experience. And the more you can alleviate some of their problems, break down some of these walls and barriers, the better your app is going to perform. So always think about these kinds of things. Use AA to your advantage to get more users onboarded to have a more successful application. So I say simple UX. What does that mean, right? There's these can be kind of buzzwords, but it means no more lost seed phrases, so your security is better. Users can come in through traditional flows of their email forgot username password kind of deal, right? It means you guys don't need users don't have to worry about, oh, I need gas to transact, right? We talked about gas sponsorship and what that looks like already. So um, your users don't have to worry about that. And you don't have any more pop-ups in your app. That means that you don't have MetaMask popping up every time interrupting your user experience. You don't have your EOA wallets popping up every time. You can do signless transactions if you'd like, depending on how you sign in through your wallets, right? This is all things that are available to you from AA. And honestly, if you are going to be building applications for the next 10 years, right? You want your application to live for the next 10 years, even 5 years. AA and this seamless UX is going to be the biggest driver of onboarding users for you. So you're building your apps on Metis. You've already chosen a great chain. You've already chosen a very gas friendly chain. It is so fast. We'll drop some transactions and you'll see how quick it is as well. So you guys already made a great choice with Metis. Now extend that choice and continue on providing for your users by using AA for your applications. So that's quick what AA is, right? Going through it. I want to walk through a little bit on this code demo. And so what I'm going to do here is, if you've seen me share my screen before, you know that I switch between a lot of different tabs. So here I'm going to show a little bit about this repo. What is it? How can you get to it? We've already dropped the link in the chat. Feel free to click on it. We'll walk through it a little bit together. I'm going to show you what the setup is. I'm going to show you how to change some configurations so that way you can work on what chain you're actually looking for, and how do we deploy contracts, how do we do all of this stuff. So I already have it set up on my end, but for anyone who is new and might be watching, very simple. You can go to the link. We have a little bit of a live demo version. This demo version is going to be edited so that way we can do it on Metis. And then we also have a README file so that way you guys can run this locally. Now, the biggest prerequisite for this is going to be creating your Thirdweb account so that way you can have a client ID. Very, very simple to do. We've done it before in the past. So if you need any help, refer to those previous ones. But we even have a link here that you guys can use for that guide and come through your Thirdweb account. So let me go ahead and bring up the dashboard here. Show you guys from the beginning what happens when we create an account, right? What is it actually looking for? So say you create your account, you log in, perfect. You're going to go into projects. You're going to see your projects here. We have this Metis demo project that we created. You can see a whole bunch of analytics for it. Really, really great and easy dashboard for you all. In your settings tab, you're going to see things like what's your client ID. We're going to go ahead and copy that, and we're going to use that for our um, example here in Visual Studio in a sec. So once you have all that set up, you're good to go. All you need is your client ID, and we can go ahead and get started. Let me share my Visual Studio Code. So, a couple things, right? As we walk through this, some of the things that I like to walk through are the setup on the left hand side. So, you're gonna see a couple of different things once you install. I use Yarn sometimes. I use npm, pnpm, bun. All of these really doesn't matter your preference. You can use any package manager that you'd like. We use the In this demo, we're going to be using Yarn. So if you're familiar with Yarn, and I'll actually stop this right now. Once you come into this app, you're just going to do a quick Yarn install, right? And what this is going to do is it's going to install all of the packages already. Again, if you download the code from this repo, you're pretty much set. And all you have to do is hit this Yarn install. once you're ready to start developing, we are going to, on this left-hand side, we're going to find a file and it's going to be called constants. Now, this constants file is going to have everything we need in order to work with this repo, right? So it's going to define what contracts we're working with. It's going to define what chain we're working on, right? What our client ID is, all of this stuff. So if you've worked with Thirdweb before, you know we need a client ID to transact with, to and create transactions for our apps, right? To interact with a Thirdweb SDK. So in order to create that client that we are going to be feeding information to or requesting from, very simple. We have this line here in our constants folder where we create our Thirdweb client. We add our client ID here, which I've defined up top, right? And again, client IDs are okay to show publicly. You're not going to have anything too crazy happen if you do. Secret keys, on the other hand, when you create your API keys on a Thirdweb dashboard, make sure you store those securely. You don't want to be showing them out to anyone. Let's practice good security habits. Don't push these up to your GitHub repos. Don't accidentally screen share it with anyone. Just make sure you keep those keys in a safe and secure location. And then if you do have any sort of accidental release, you can always rotate those keys out, and create a new project if needed. So that's an option available for you as well. Now, in this constants folder, we've created our client, and now I need to define what chain are we working with. So today we're working with Metis, right? Why not? This is actually the chain ID for our Metis testnet. We know it has amazing gas. We know it's so fast, and we actually have a faucet on the Thirdweb chainless page as well for the Metis chain, so that way you guys can go get some funds and start transacting with Metis. So, how do we define our chain? It's going to be through this function called define chain. We're going to pass in our ID, and then we're good to go. For the rest of our app, because we developed this constants folder, any transaction that we're going through, unless otherwise specified, is going to go through Metis, right? And so this is great. It's a single place where I can define all this stuff. And then we have things like token addresses. What about our addition contract addresses? Things like like this that we set. And so let me show you what that looks like from a dashboard's perspective. So, coming through here, we have things like this Metis token drop contract that I created earlier today. I even had a test transaction go through. But if you are coming through and you're saying, okay, I want to create my own contract, again, we've kind of done this in a previous session, so I won't spend too much time on this. But you can go ahead to your dashboard, click on contracts. We're going to deploy a contract, and then select what contracts you would like to work with, right? So, in our instance, in this repo, we are doing two types. We are doing a addition drop contract. So this means we're going to have ERC 1155 tokens. This means many copies of the same token. I've actually set the price at free, and then we're going to be able to claim as many as we need. So that's the first one, and then the second one is going to be our token drop contract. Let's see if I can find it here. Very similar to this token one. It's just token drop. So if I go here, drop. Oops, find it for you here. Well, here it is, token drop contract. You can go ahead and actually deploy another one here. Really simple. Follow the UI, right? Again, we've gone through this in previous sessions. So if you need a little bit of a more in-depth walkthrough, you can follow that. So for this example, we've actually created our token drop. We've created our um, addition drop as well. And so we're going to start transacting. We're going to start seeing what this demo looks like. It's going to build out for you this page. And you're going to be able to see things like, okay, how do we start working with sponsored transactions? How do we start working with multi-chain? What does it look like when a user logs in, right? So I'm actually going to disconnect my wallet here, and we're going to go through some of these examples now. User flow, right? One of the biggest things that we talked about was user experience. and what smart accounts and account abstraction affords your users. So for this app, really demonstrate user flow, what we can do is we can connect a wallet. And again, all of this is customizable for you on your end. If you guys have a different UI you want to do, you can actually do that as well. For this demo, I'm just doing MetaMask, right? I'm just going to do a real quick. Oh, I forgot to restart my server here. So I'm actually going to show you that as well. So after you've installed, after we filled out our information, we're going to yarn dev. Going to turn on our server or our local host. Refresh the page here. And then that way we can actually start working with this. So don't forget, anytime you guys stop your server in Visual Studio, make sure you turn it back on again so that way you can work with it. Let's to boot up. Filing. Any questions so far on account abstraction? Anything that you guys might not be a little familiar with? A little bit more clarity on? Cool. All right.
Oh, all right.
Cool. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and connect our wallet. Now that we have it up and running our server side again. Again, you have all of the customization options available to you. We actually went through some of this again in the previous sessions on how you can set this up. And so we're going to go ahead and click on MetaMask here. And so I want to show you a couple things. On my MetaMask account, you see that my account is actually OXC4, right? That's the address. But here when I'm connecting, you're seeing OX8D. Why? Why is that?
Why
So
is this magic happening?
exactly, right? So this is kind of what we mean when we say this wallet is a smart account and it's tied to a smart contract. So I actually see a comment in the chat that says, I have no idea what that means, right? What does account abstraction or smart account means? So Zach of the North, this is for you. Again, account abstraction is a wallet that is based into a smart contract. That's it. If you're familiar with EOA wallets like MetaMask and you're familiar with smart contracts that are on the blockchain, put those two ideas together and you have smart accounts and account abstraction. Very, very easy, very basic idea to kind of wrap your head around. So if we use that framework as a basis to explain what's happening here, we've actually tied my MetaMask as an admin account to this smart account that was created on a smart contract. So if we look through this flow, we have my original MetaMask. It interacted with a smart contract, and the smart contract said, okay, you are now the admin, and I'm going to create a new account on my contract. And that account's going to have an address, it's going to have a balance, it's going to have functions to transfer funds, look at funds, all this great stuff, everything you'd expect from a regular wallet. And so none of that was visible on the front end, right? So we've really already simplified that user experience. Now, what happens if I were to disconnect this wallet and I just want to log in through a regular email, right? So I'm going to put in my email here. It's going to ask for my OTP. Let me go ahead and open up my email, grab that code for you. Then, so we can verify it, log in. I do the wrong one. Oh, I don't know. Interesting. I'll have to look at that. So, essentially, you log in and it shows. I'll come back up on your wallet and they'll show the exact same thing. Smart accounts with. Oh, I know what's happening. Smart accounts, and then with your uh, smart account address as well. So once you have that, you can start transacting. You can start doing gas sponsorship and working with all of these code sections here. So I want to go through these, right? I want to go through these code sections. So what does it look like to sponsor gas? I have here, as you can see, in my account, I have no team Metis, right? I have no testnet funds in order to start transactions. So if I were to click on the sponsor transactions, it's going to actually take me to another page that I'm going to walk through here in our code. right? So we've already filled out all of this. We've deployed our contracts. We have our constants filled out. And so I clicked on this gasless one, right? So in that code snippet, again, all of this is already filled in for you. You guys can just start playing around with it. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a couple things. One, we're going to be showing a NFT that we have on our page. And then we're going to be saying, hey, here's the number of NFTs you've owned. And then if you want to transact and start claiming some of them, this is the code for that. We've gone through some of these media components as well in previous sessions. So we've done through what a claim to extension is. We've worked with how to get contracts. So if you guys need a little bit refresher, again, go back and look at the previous Metis workshops that we've done. So that way you guys can get a bit better idea on that. So very simple, right? We're going to be doing this transaction button. We're going to be calling our claim to extension, passing in our contract, and we're going to be using our smart account address. Again, this is the account that was created once we logged in with MetaMask. So if we go back to our page here, we see that we have exactly what I was talking about. We rendered an NFT image. We're talking about how many NFTs we have. And again, no gas, but I'm gonna want to claim. So if I were to claim this, I'm going to see a MetaMask pop up because I'm connected with MetaMask. If you're connected with email, you're not going to see this pop up. Your users are actually going to have a signless experience, which is really great. We'll go ahead and collect that, sign that transaction. And here on this demo, we have a claim successful image. We're going to go ahead and hit OK. And now you can see that it went from 2 to 3, all without gas. I didn't have any gas to get this NFT, right? It was actually sponsored on behalf of my smart contract account, right? So this is one of the biggest benefits that we were talking about earlier is how do we facilitate a seamless user experience? As let's face it, individuals coming through as they start interacting with your app, they're not always going to know, oh, I have to top off gas, right? I have to top off in order to make transactions. So to make that even easier, sponsored transactions are a huge help here. And so that's just with claiming NFTs. What about tokens, right? So if if we're going to go back to this menu, we have an option here or maybe I mentioned this earlier, where maybe we don't want to do just a single transaction. Maybe we want to batch our transactions so we do multiple in one call. So what does it mean to batch transactions? So in this example, on this page, when I click on batching transactions, what we're going to see is a way to get not only a NFT, but also some tokens for that NFT as well. So what does that look like here in our again in our rating in our routing? We're gonna have this page transaction, this page here under batching. What we're doing is we're doing a couple things. We're getting the contract addresses as well, right? We're getting the metadata for these claims. And we're going to do a couple things. One, we're going to claim an NFT token. And two, we're going to claim some tokens, right? Some ERC20 tokens that we've created on Metis to all within the same transaction, right? So here, here is a very good example on doing technically two transactions within one call. So we've created these transactions, we've put them together, we've bundled them together, and this is something that is only possible with account abstraction and AA, right? So we bundle them together. We're going to use our bundler and send this over to our app so that way we can get these calls. So here's that page, right? Batching transactions. We're going to say, hey, I want to claim some NFTs and tokens at once. Again, you see here that it went to 3 because we've already claimed that NFT that we showed earlier. And I'm going to show you the previous on the token. Here is our token contract that we set up. We have a supply of 0.1. And then here on the latest event, you can see there's only been one token claimed and transfer function, right? So let's see what happens if I were to click this button now. And here we have claiming sign our transaction in MetaMask because I'm logged in with MetaMask. Again, if you're logged in with an in-app wallet, you're good to go. You're not going to see any transactions for the user to sign. So totally seamless experience. Now, here in our app, it's going to pop up, hey, successful. You can actually take this transaction hash and look it up on the Explorer page for Metis if you want, and you can read through it, see what's going on in the back end as well. I'm gonna hit OK, and on my app, I see okay. Now I have 4 NFTs, and I have an additional zero point 0.1 ERC20. If I go back to my ERC20 contract, I want to verify some of this, right? Like, I want to make sure that what I'm seeing is actually true on chain. So if I were to refresh my page here, I can see that it is indeed. Oh, on my contract, I now have zero point 0.2 ERC20 tokens in the total supply, and I see I have this additional token claim and transfer event, all from our app, right? So again, AA has allowed us to batch multiple transactions together, and in our claiming flow, it sends it as a single transaction. We didn't, if you noticed, we didn't see two pop-ups to sign transactions. We only saw one because we've bundled them, right? Traditionally, your user would see two transactions. They would see one for the NFT claim and then one for the token claim. But here, we actually only saw one, which is really, really great to see. And a beautiful, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful developments that have come through on blockchain, right? So we are able to bundle these transactions together, save on gas, increase the speed of our user experience. So cool to see.
I do have one question before we
Go
jump
ahead.
on the next thing. Like, I'm wondering, like, if you're not signing any transaction, then how the gas fees are been paying? Like, let's say we meant an NFT, right? And we didn't pay anything. So how the things are working on the backend side? Because I really wondered that somebody would be paying gas fees on behalf of us. So how, like, do we define that all the stuff on the smart contract or a smart wallet, we say, and how does that go?
Yeah. So couple different ways you can do gasless transactions, and honestly, that might be a session in itself. Because gasless transactions are a very deep topic, but with Thirdweb, there's a couple different ways you can do it. One is going to be through our connect components, where you can just say, "Hey, sponsor gas equals true," and you're good to go. What that does is, if you're using our default contracts, it's going to actually Thirdweb will pay what we are front running that gas for your user at the time of the transaction, and then your account will have a tally on what the gas that was sponsored totals. So that way, as a developer's perspective, you guys can see exactly how much gas you're sponsoring, and then if you want to ever edit or customize any of this stuff, you can actually do so within your dashboards as well. So, for example, if I were to go into my account here, I can go into my projects, go into my Metis demo project, and then here we have this connect button. So if I click on connect, we're going to see this account abstraction tab. So again, this is all within your dashboard. I'll
Hmm.
click on account abstraction, and I can see here
I see.
the number of gas sponsored. Again, we don't charge for testnet account abstraction. That's always free, right? Testnet funds. We're not going to bill anyone for that. So this is only tracking mainnet gas sponsorship. And so you can have a couple of beautiful analytics for amount of gas sponsored, sponsored transactions. We have a list of guides and templates as well. So if you want to start editing some of these configurations, you can click on this sponsorship policies tab here. What this will do is this will allow you to set things like global limits, right? Maybe across your entire ecosystem for any app using this API key pair, right? This client ID. You can set, okay, hey, I only want to allow maybe $100 a month in gas transactions, in gasless transactions, right? So all transactions going through up to this limit in gas fees, right? Again, this is only in gas fees. Once that limit is hit, any other transaction going forward is going to have to be covered by the user. So that's one option, right? And then you can do things like maybe you only want to restrict it to specific chains. You don't want any other applications. So here you can say, hey, I just want Metis, right? So I can click here, and then I can say, hey, only Metis will be uh, gas sponsored, right? So if for some reason any transaction happens on any other chain, don't include it, right? You can even do specific contract addresses. So, hey, I have a whole bunch of contracts, I have a whole bunch of applications, but I only want to sponsor gas for certain transactions on certain contracts. You can do that. You can do that through this tab. You can allow and blacklist accounts. If you have some abuse, you can blacklist them. If you have admin wallets where you only want these particular wallets to be gas sponsored, you can add them here as well. You can do server verification. So, hey, if a transaction should be sponsored, if you have your own auth endpoint, you guys can do that as well. Admin accounts, all of this within your dashboard. So all of the configuration settings, you don't have to be a in-depth developer to understand. You don't have to be very technical to set this stuff up. We've tried to make this as easy as possible so that way you guys can offer that seamless experience to your users. So come to this dashboard. Again, everything's in your dashboard, thirdweb.com. Create your account. You guys can finely grain and control your account abstraction through this dashboard as well. So hope that
It's
answers your
really
question.
interesting. Yeah, yeah, it's really interesting. Like, and even like for the sponsorship, like we can pay with the fiat currency, right, and not with the uh, crypto native tokens. So that is really interesting, and also enhance the user experience one more time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. And then we even have a tab here for if you want to use your custom account factories that you're
yeah.
building out. You can do that as well. And then I'm actually going to talk a little bit about our defaults and why it might be beneficial for you to use our defaults. So for if we go back to our example here, go back to our menu, we see this tab multi-chain transactions. So it's cool, right? Like I understand I'm building on Metis, but sometimes I want to extend my user experience to maybe Metis comes out with another chain. Maybe Metis comes out with a gaming focused chain or a DeFi focused chain, and I want to support that chain as well, right? So how do I do that? In this tab here, if I were to, I'm gonna go ahead and start that loading process. Come over to my code. And so we have this multi-chain page. So again, very simple to set up. We do not do anything too crazy in terms of how how we how we turn on account abstraction, right? And then one of the different ways that I mentioned is actually shown here through our connect button component. All we do is add this account abstraction tab, and we're good to go. Um, in our in our config file, you notice I don't have the sponsored gas here, but that's because I have it in my constants over here on this option, right? So in your option, if you're configuring with sponsoring gas through account abstraction, you can mess around with it here, turn it on or off. Here, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it on. So we're going to have our user connect to the connect component. And we're going to have a couple different things. Here, we're going to say, I want to sponsor gas for base polio chain, but then I also want to sponsor gas or Arbitrum Sopolia, right? Two different contracts, two different NFT collections, and I want my same account, I want my same wallet account to interact across these different chains. And how does that happen? Why does it happen? Um, Here, if we were to look at our app here, we see these two different collections, and so I'm going to say, hey, I want to be able to claim an NFT on one chain, right? Again, I don't have any gas. I'm sponsoring that gas on behalf of this. I'll go ahead and confirm it. And then we see that this claim was successful and say, cool. All right. But what about the other one? Right. I don't want to switch chains from a user's perspective. I just want to be able to click this claim button. So if you notice, it actually switched it here and in our network tab as well, right? Like it already automatically switched it because we've already decided, hey, I want base or Arbitrum. And then we're going to hit OK. And then we've claimed on both, right? To the same account. Now, why is this important? And why is this a very interesting fact? It's that usually different blockchains have no way of talking to each other, right? Unless you have some sort of portal contracts or you have entry points, things like that. However, in our case, because Thirdweb has some default contracts where if we look back here, we see we have account factory contracts. And so all networks will have this contract address as its entry point. What does that mean? That means that anytime a user comes in and creates or signs into an account and it's a smart account, right? It's going to go to this contract. Now, this contract is going to have all of the users' IDs, right? Wallet IDs. It's going to have all of the information pertaining to what assets that wallet has. And it's going to be, most importantly, it means it's going to be the same across every chain. So when we think about multi-chain transactions, if Metis um, ever comes out with any additional chains within its ecosystem, you guess what? You guys can use one contract, one account. Your user has the same wallet address across these different chains that they sign into for this account, and it's a very, very handy piece of tooling that you guys can have to further simplify that user experience. So the user's not trying to check different wallet addresses; it's the same wallet address across different chains, and that's the big takeaway when you think about account abstraction and account factories in terms of multi-chain transactions. So another option is you guys can absolutely deploy your own factory accounts, right? If you are using them for multi-chain, there is some additional setup that you'll have to do. It's a little bit more technical, a little bit more in depth to ensure that you guys get the same contract address across each chain. But if you are just, say, for example, I just want to do my own account abstraction contract on Metis on a single account. We have a couple different options. I would recommend personally you can do just this managed account factory one, so that way you can, if you ever need to change your smart contract, you can do so. So it's same process as deploying through our ERC20 token or even NFT stuff. We can go here, click on deploy, and it's a simple UI. You can look at some of our options here. And so one of the biggest things is this deterministic address, right? So if you guys are deploying across multiple chains, you want to do a deterministic address, make sure this box is checked, and you can go ahead and get that set up. I recommend Assault. You don't have to, but this will essentially uh, almost guarantee that your specific address will be the same across multiple chains. And it's just a nice to have. So again, a little bit more technical on what salts are and how they interact with your contract deployments. But you can go ahead and deploy a account factory contract through here. Now, if you do so, when you set up your accounts in this code base, especially through this code button here, what we'll do is we'll add another field for the factory address, and then you can specify what your factory contract actually is. So in our constants, it will look something like factory address, right? And then once we deploy that, so let's actually, I'll deploy one real quick here because Metis is so fast. I'm gonna go ahead and confirm that. And then while this goes, does anyone have any questions in the chat while this happens?
We got one sec of the note saying that I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, we went that with Zach. We talked about AA already. For Zach of the North, we got you. We answered that one. We're good. So here, I've deployed my account factory. I'm gonna grab this address and back in our code, paste it in, and we're now using a fully custom account factory contract. So if I were to save this, and this is actually a good example for you all. So I'm gonna go back to main menu. Now I just want to make sure that yep, I'm still running on my server. I'm going to disconnect this wallet. Take note of this address. So if I were to connect my MetaMask again, notice we have a totally different address now. And why is that? Well, because we've changed our factory address. So this is exactly why having the same factory address across multiple chains is very, very powerful as we transact, right? So this is, and I wasn't actually planning to show this, but this is actually a great use case, right? So now we have different contract. If I were to actually look into sponsor transactions, see it went from, I believe 4 was the last one, and now have 0 because we have a different account, because we're using a different contract, because smart wallets are tied to contracts. It's all coming together now, right? This is a great use case and a kind of visual cue on how account abstraction works. So 2 more things that we have, or rather one more thing that I want to go through is session keys. What are session keys? Session keys are very simple. They allow other wallets to transact and sign on behalf of your smart account. Why would we want that? That seems like a huge security risk. Well, sometimes if in our applications we have some backend admin accounts, right? We have admin wallets that we want to be able to sign a transaction and perform on behalf of a user. Sometimes we have some processes where, for example, if a user reaches a certain state in our app, we want to kick off a transaction and not necessarily have the user's experience interrupted, and we want to do it on behalf of that user. So how do we do this, right? So here we can say we use session keys. Now a session key is very simply configured. It is, let me actually bring up in the code here. I'm going to look at our session keys. Very simple, right? Again, we have our Connect Mobile that we're looking in our page. We have this text information that is here in our page. And then so what happens when we click on that add session key? So it's going to kick off a transaction. And what it's going to do is it's going to look at our factory account address, and it's going to say, okay, I want to add a session key on a particular for a particular account or my connected account. And again, what does that mean? So here what we're doing is we're saying, okay, this session key, this admin account that I'm adding is going to be able to interact with my addition drop address. And so I can actually use this admin account to have this addition drop right before that pupper NFT that we were looking at, to sign that transaction on behalf of my user. So really, really powerful and cool stuff here that we do. So if I were to add this session key, right? So honestly, I'm just gonna copy my dev my test account here, add it in, and I'll click add session key. So again, it's like, hey, you want to confirm that you're adding the session key? Yep. This is only because I'm using MetaMask. If we're using in-app wallets, that's not going to show. We're going to add that session key. And then so here we'll wait a little bit. Might have to reload. No active session keys. Oh, because I'm using my factory account. I haven't set that up on my smart contract. You'll see the session key here as well. And then that session key can interact on behalf of your user. Again, this is all in the code base. You guys can play around with it. Don't add your factory account as I did here, right? We'll take this out, and you can mess around with it. I want to be cognizant of the time, so I'm actually not going to go through it. But we have about 5 minutes left. I want to make sure. Does anyone have any questions? Needy, do you have any kind of topics that you might want to cover?
Not not much. Like I think people are going good till now.
Perfect. I love to hear that. Cool. So, that's a kind of abstraction. That is how easy and powerful it is with Thirdweb. As you guys go through this GitHub repo, you know, the biggest kind of hint, or rather advice I can give is, again, and I've said this before in previous sessions, don't be afraid to break anything in this repo, right? You're not going to permanently lock yourself out. You're not going to be destroy the entire blockchain, or lock your wallets, right? I feel I have a lot of instances where people come to me and say, I don't get into blockchain because I don't really understand what I'm doing, and I'm afraid of breaking something. I'm afraid of getting into a state. where it's unrecoverable. So especially in these test nets, right? Metis's test net is very, very fast, very easy to work with. You guys can transact, uh, play with gas, play with addresses, play with factory contracts, and use this constants folder. This constants folder is going to be kind of like your compass, right? You can come in through, specify what contracts you're working with, what tokens, IDs you might want to claim, right? And then as we go through this page here, each section has a page in the repo. So each section has an option for it. So sponsored transaction here, you'll see it here in gasless. If you have over, so batching is going to be under batching, multi-chain is going to be under multi-chain, and then finally session keys is under session keys, right? So these map pretty directly to what you'll see in your project layout. And just click through, right? Change things up, change your contracts, change your gas sponsorship, change the account settings in your Thirdweb account, right? Change these settings and see how that affects it. The best way to learn about all of this kind of tooling and stuff is just to get down and dirty and play with it. And of course, if you have any questions, reach out to us. Go to thirdweb.com/support, create a ticket, and all of our support agents are devs. We will all be more than happy to help you,
Yeah,
walk you through it as well.
definitely.
Cool. Cool.
Very interesting. So we have a few more minutes, couple of more minutes. So if you have any questions or anything clicking up in your mind, please feel free to drop in the comment section. And this will be on the YouTube and on our main official accounts, Twitter accounts. So you can find the recordings over there as well. Feel free to share your thoughts in the chat or tag us, Metis Devs, on the Twitter handles as well. Anything, uh, anything more, Joy, that we are missing on this workshop?
No, I mean, I will say one thing, if or an additional thing. When you guys make your contracts in your factory contracts specifically, we actually have code snippets available for you all, right? So even outside of the repo, we'll tell you exactly, hey, this is how to interact with your factory in a TypeScript manner, or if you're using the SDK through React, right? This is how you can do it. You can look at all of our contract functions here, interact with them within the Explorer, all within your dashboard. Um, yeah, my goal is to make sure that we're making it as easy as possible for you all
Yeah,
to interact and have account abstractions. So I hope
definitely.
this helps.
It will definitely. Amazing. So I think we will be ending stream right here. If nobody has any questions regarding this workshop, if you guys have any questions in the future, please feel free to reach out to us on the Metis devs as well on the Thirdweb devs. And yep, we also have like more plenty of exciting workshops lined up for the future. So keep an eye on our official Twitter handles. We will be mostly posting on there. So all good. Almost 600 people are watching right now. More than 600 people, yeah, from different
Love it.
platforms.
Love it. Absolutely fantastic turnout. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Needy, for having me again. It has always
Thank you,
been a
Joe.
pleasure.
Thank you so much for the joining us for this amazing workshop, and thank you all of the guys that the community that have been joined for this amazing account abstractions workshop. Thank you for making it happen. Bye bye. Take
Oh,
care.
all right.